All right, welcome everyone to this information presentation hosted by the Alberta Water Council on October 23rd, 2025. We're pleased to be joined by Nicole Pysh, who is an environmental management specialist with environment and protected areas. She'll be leading the presentation today. She will provide an update on Alberta's surface water quality management framework. So Nicole, if you're set, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nancy. It's a pleasure to be here today. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nicole Pysh, and I'm an environmental management specialist with Alberta Environment and Protected Areas. I am joined online by some colleagues. Long Fu, our Senior Resource Manager for the Upper Athabasca region, Nathan Ballard, our limnologist for the Lower Athabasca region, and Jennifer Kerr, our limnologist for the Upper Athabasca region, who are standing by to help answer questions at the end of the presentation. Although I'm presenting the information today, I want to acknowledge that the reports on which this presentation is based are the culmination of the work of many people within Alberta Environment and Protected Areas. I have a lot of information to share, so let's get started. The purpose of our presentation today is to introduce Alberta's surface water quality management frameworks, provide an overview of the status of surface water quality and management responses within each region, and highlight stakeholder involvement in management responses. Next slide. I'll start by introducing our surface water quality management frameworks, which I will refer to simply as the frameworks. These frameworks establish a proactive approach to monitoring and managing the long-term cumulative effects of human activities on water quality in the main stem rivers within a region. Two frameworks have been in place for over 10 years, one in the Lower Athabasca region and in the South Saskatchewan region. And those were enacted under the regional plans for those areas. And two new frameworks were added more recently in the North Saskatchewan region and the Upper Athabasca region as policy under the Environmental Protection and Enhancement Act in advance of regional plans. The framework commits Alberta Environment and Protected Areas to monitoring, evaluating, and reporting on water quality conditions, and to protecting or maintaining or improving water quality by initiating and sustaining management responses when water quality changes become a concern. Next slide, please. Let's briefly review how these frameworks are implemented. It's important to note that the details in each framework vary as they are tailored to the region to which it applies. For example, each region has a list of indicators, which are the water quality parameters of concern, that are monitored regularly at specific locations, our long-term river network sites, and compared to specific thresholds for management action. Firstly, framework implementation consists of annual monitoring, evaluation, and reporting of indicators in relation to management thresholds. The management thresholds for each indicator include triggers, which are values based on historical data that provide an early warning for proactive management. And we also have limits, which are based on the most stringent chronic water quality guidelines. If a trigger is crossed, a preliminary assessment is conducted to determine if there is a statistically significant undesirable trend. The preliminary assessment includes a concentration-based assessment and a flow-adjusted assessment. If there is a significant undesirable trend, or if a limit is exceeded for a particular indicator, a management response is initiated. The management response begins with an investigation of cause, which is a scientific investigation into the driving causes of water quality change to determine if the changes observed are being driven by natural or man-made sources. The management response may proceed, depending on the findings of the investigation of cause, to engaging stakeholders to determine appropriate management actions, implementing those management actions, and assessing the effectiveness of management actions. If management actions are effective and water quality improves and there is no longer a concern, the management response will be closed. But if management actions are not effective, the response will continue with identifying management actions, implementing those actions, and assessing effectiveness. Next slide, please. Alberta Environment and Protected Areas reports on the status of water quality annually and the status of management responses biennially. The most recent round of reports were published earlier this year in February. The 2022 status of water quality reports include data collected up to the end of 2022, and the status of management response reports cover the activities undertaken up to December of 2023. The next round of annual status of surface water quality reports will be published soon and will include the evaluation results of data collected up to the end of 2023. Next slide. Now let's take a look at the water quality and management responses underway within each region. Starting in the north, I'll provide a summary of the Lower Athabasca region. This update is based on the report, Lower Athabasca Region, Status of Management Response for Surface Water Quality Management Framework, as of December 2023, which was written by limnologist Nathan Ballard. Next slide. The framework for the Lower Athabasca region includes 61 indicators that cover major ions, nutrients, dissolved metals, and total metals. The indicators are evaluated against management thresholds at one station, the Old Fort Monitoring Station, which is indicated by the black triangle on the left of that blow-up quadrant. So the Old Fort Monitoring Station is located downstream of oil sands activities and the city of Fort McMurray, both of which are major influences on water quality in the region. Next slide. In the Lower Athabasca region, no limits have been exceeded since the framework was implemented in 2012. However, some indicators have crossed their triggers for management action. In 2021, dissolved lithium, dissolved uranium, and sulfate crossed their respective triggers, and in 2022, those same indicators crossed their triggers, plus magnesium, dissolved molybdenum, and total uranium also crossed their respective triggers. Preliminary assessments were completed on all indicators crossing triggers to identify significant undesirable trends that would prompt an investigation of cause. Investigations of cause have been undertaken for several indicators since the framework came into effect. These investigations of cause focused on determining the driving causes of water quality decline, and many were wrapped up within the last reporting period, as listed on the left. Investigations of cause into these indicators were either closed and referred for further analysis to staff in the Upper Athabasca region. They were closed and referred to management action in the case of total nitrogen, or investigations will continue within a narrow geographical scope. For the investigations that are continuing, the focus will be on the Athabasca River main stem between Fort McMurray and Old Fort Station for arsenic, and on the Muskeg River watershed for dissolved lithium, selenium, barium, and chloride. A new investigation of cause was initiated for magnesium. Next slide. A few management actions are currently underway in the Lower Athabasca region. First, management actions have focused on compiling and analyzing surface water quality data within the Muskeg River watershed to examine dissolved and total uranium, lithium, chloride, and barium. Ambient water quality from oil sands monitoring and provincial monitoring programs has been merged, and staff are exploring the publication of that data through the Oil Sands Monitoring Data Catalog. The digitization of industry data from Environmental Protection Enhancement Act approvals is nearing completion, and the next steps are underway. Management actions also include enhancing water quality monitoring through reactivation of an existing monitoring station at Windfall, upstream of Whitecourt, and evaluating the need for enhanced monitoring in the Firebag River. Finally, developing mitigation measures to manage nitrogen concentrations in the mineable oil sands region is required to protect water quality, starting with a risk assessment. Our key takeaways for the Lower Athabasca region are that subbasins upstream of the Lower Athabasca region seem to be the source of current and past trigger crossings for lithium, selenium, chloride, barium, and uranium. Investigations of cause will continue in the Muskeg River watershed for lithium, selenium, chloride, barium, and in the Athabasca River for arsenic between Fort McMurray and the Old Fort Station. Finally, enhanced monitoring and data compilation are underway. Next slide. Moving upstream in the Athabasca watershed, next I'll talk about the Upper Athabasca region. This update is based on the report Upper Athabasca Region Status of Management Response for Surface Water Quality Management Framework as of December 2023, which was written by limnologist Jennifer Kerr. The Upper Athabasca Region Framework includes 29 indicators that cover a range of metals, nutrients, and ions. The indicator thresholds are evaluated at one primary station, Athabasca River at the town of Athabasca, as represented by the black triangle on the map. For the first reporting period since this framework came into effect, which included water quality up to the end of 2022, no limit exceedances were observed. However, trigger crossings were identified for potassium, sulfate, dissolved cobalt, dissolved nickel, dissolved uranium, and total suspended solids. Preliminary assessments were completed on all these indicators crossing triggers to identify significant undesirable trends that would prompt an investigation of cause. Next slide. New investigations of cause have been initiated for the indicators on the left: sulfate, dissolved cobalt, nickel, and uranium. In addition, several indicators were referred from the Lower Athabasca region for follow-up, including total uranium, dissolved selenium, and dissolved barium. These indicators were found to primarily originate in the upper reaches of the Athabasca River and or the Lesser Slave River watershed. It should be noted, and this applies to all frameworks, that investigations of cause may be prioritized based on a number of factors, including risks to aquatic life, impacts to downstream users, and other environmental impacts. Here are our key takeaways for the Upper Athabasca region. Sulfate, dissolved cobalt, dissolved nickel, and dissolved uranium have crossed triggers and are showing trends. Investigations of cause are proceeding for these indicators. Investigations of cause will be undertaken at a subbasin scale for total uranium, dissolved selenium, and dissolved barium, which were referred from the Lower Athabasca region. Next, I'll talk about the North Saskatchewan region. This update is based on the report North Saskatchewan Region Status of Management Response for Surface Water Quality Management Framework as of December 2023, which was written by limnologist Wes Greenwood with support from environmental management specialist Angela Owascu. This framework includes 22 indicators for the North Saskatchewan River and 20 indicators for the Battle River, covering a wide range of water quality parameters, including major ions, metals, nutrients, and pesticides. In the North Saskatchewan River, indicators are evaluated at 3 stations. One station upstream of Rocky Mountain House and the Clearwater River confluence, one station at Devon, and one station at Pecan. In the Battle River, indicators are evaluated at 2 stations, on Highway 53 and upstream of Dried Meat Lake. First, we'll focus on the North Saskatchewan River. For this first reporting period since the framework came into effect, which included water quality data up to 2022, no limit exceedances were observed in the North Saskatchewan River. However, there were 16 indicators that crossed triggers. The locations of these trigger crossings are shown in the table on the right. The majority of these trigger crossings were observed in the open water season, and many were peak trigger crossings, so that crossing the 90th percentile. Preliminary assessments were performed on unadjusted concentration data. For many indicators, there was no evidence of a statistically significant increasing trend, as shown by the red strike through. But there was evidence of a significantly increasing trend for the indicators shown in black font. The need to move these indicators to an investigation of cause is pending the results of the flow-adjusted trend assessment. Until then, no further action is warranted. Next slide. While framework indicators are still undergoing preliminary assessment to determine statistically significant trends, there is a lot of work happening in the region that will help support potential future investigations of cause and management actions. This includes an effluent characterization program, a designated industrial zone water quality management program, as well as a stormwater data synthesis. These projects are expected to help build understanding of loadings from point and non-point sources in the region so that management actions can be focused on changes that will yield the greatest return on investment and maintain our goal of maintaining or improving water quality. Next slide. Switching now to the Battle River, for this first reporting period since the framework came into effect, which included water quality data up to 2022, limit exceedances and trigger crossings were observed in the Battle River. Total ammonia and pesticide MCPA both crossed their respective limit at the dried meat station. As well, trigger crossings were observed for E. coli, chloride, sulfate, total arsenic, nitrate and nitrite, and both pesticide indicators, 2,4-D and MCPA. Next slide. Preliminary assessments were completed to detect trends using concentration data from the most recent 10 years. There was some evidence of increasing trends for all indicators with trigger crossings, with the exception of sulfate at Highway 53. The need for an investigation of cause will be determined after flow-adjusted trend analysis for indicators that have cross triggers only. Until then, no further action will be taken on indicators that have cross triggers. Next slide. Because total ammonia and pesticide MCPA cross their respective limits, investigations of cause are underway for these indicators to determine the driving causes and assess implications for aquatic life and other water users. For ammonia, the driving cause appears to be treated wastewater discharges, with larger wastewater treatment facilities exerting the most influence. In this case, management actions are already being implemented, as several larger wastewater treatment plants on the Battle River watershed are being or have been upgraded, which should improve wastewater effluent quality. MCPA is a pesticide, so the driving cause is pesticide application. The limit that was crossed is an irrigation limit, so the risk is mainly to select crops if being irrigated with water from the Battle River. The investigation of cause is focused on determining hot spots, so spatial patterns, and hot moments, in other words, timing of high concentrations. It can be noted that MCPA exceeding its irrigation guideline is not unique to the Battle River. as this has been seen in other water quality data from central and southern Alberta. Next slide. Our key takeaways for the North Saskatchewan region are, for the North Saskatchewan River, 16 indicators have crossed triggers and no limits have been exceeded. For the Battle River, 2 limit exceedances have been observed for ammonia and pesticide MCPA, and 7 indicators have crossed their triggers. For indicators with trigger crossings, preliminary assessment is underway to determine the need for an investigation of cause. Investigations of cause are underway for limit exceedances on the Battle River. Ongoing work in the Capital Region will help inform current and future investigations. Municipal and industrial partners are engaged through the Industrial Heartland Capital Region Water Management Framework Implementation Advisory Committee. Last, but certainly not least, we'll talk about the South Saskatchewan region. This update is based on the report, South Saskatchewan Region Status of Management Response for the Surface Water Quality Management Framework as of December 2023, and was written by limnologist Cecilia Chung with support from limnologist Natalie Cromry and environmental management specialist Renee Howard. This framework includes 15 ambient indicators that are monitored and evaluated at 9 surface water quality monitoring stations along the Bow River, Old Man River, South Saskatchewan River, and Milk River, as indicated by the black triangles. Several indicators have crossed management thresholds, either triggers or limits, since this framework was implemented over 10 years ago in 2014. Here we present the threshold exceedances over the last 2 published status of water quality reports. Of note is a switch in statistical methodology between the 2021 to 2022 and the 2019 to 2022 reports, which included moving from assessing 1 year of data to assessing 3 years of data. Status of water quality reports, which identify these threshold exceedances, have since reported on a rolling 3-year window. A number of the indicators listed here have exceeded management thresholds in the past, and investigations of cause are underway for the parameters that have shown significant undesirable trends. Next slide, please. 6 investigations of cause are underway in the South Saskatchewan region. E. coli on the Milk River is under investigation of cause in response to open water limit exceedances in current and past years. We have conducted an investigation of cause to identify the source and are currently finalizing the report for publication. Multiple indicators are under investigation of cause on the Bow River. Total dissolved solids, specific conductivity, sulfate, chloride, pH, nitrate and nitrite, and total nitrogen have had repeated trigger crossings in the past, and current reporting periods are showing undesirable trends. An in-depth literature review and analysis of surface water quality data is nearing completion, and we are moving to the reporting stage for these indicators. A working group has been established to support this investigation of cause, which I will discuss further in an upcoming slide. An investigation into chloride levels on the South Saskatchewan River is also being undertaken in response to repeated trigger crossings and undesirable trends in current and past years. While investigative work on the Bow does relate to the South Saskatchewan River investigation, information gathering and water quality analysis is underway to better understand and consider the influences from the Bow and the Old Man Rivers. A new investigation has been initiated to look into selenium in the Upper Bow River. This is in response to a trigger crossing and undesirable trend in Bow River at Cochrane. This investigation of cause is a bit different, as there are challenges with analyzing low-level selenium concentrations. We will first be focusing on an in-depth assessment of the identified trend to understand how laboratory methods may be affecting results, and subsequent analysis will follow if needed. Next slide. A new investigation of cause has been opened this year to address the pesticide dicamba, which has crossed limits and triggers in current and past years. A literature review and additional data gathering are underway to support data analysis. For source tracking, we are looking at samples collected in 2023 from wastewater effluents that discharge to main stem rivers in the South Saskatchewan River watershed. Additional samples are being collected at stations on the South Saskatchewan River and in multiple tributaries to the South Saskatchewan River. The investigation of cause into winter limit exceedances of total dissolved solids and specific conductivity in the Milk River was completed and reported on in a technical report. The investigation of cause determined that groundwater inputs are likely the primary source of these exceedances, and management action development and implementation is underway. Here are a few of the management actions underway in the region. Address high levels of dissolved solids, total dissolved solids, and specific conductivity in Milk River, which are indicators of salinity. A fact sheet has been drafted and is being refined with help from the Engagement and Education Branch, Watershed Sciences, Drinking Water Operations Specialists, and Alberta Health Services. The fact sheet presents the salinity levels and patterns we've observed and what they mean for water users. The goal of the fact sheet is to promote testing of drinking water and point-of-use water treatment to mitigate the negative effects of water with high concentrations of total dissolved solids in the home, and to inform irrigators of the limitations of using water from Milk River, in particular Verdigris and Red Creek. The fact sheet will be distributed with the help of the Milk River Watershed Council Canada. To address rising chloride trends in the Bow River and South Saskatchewan River, a Southern Alberta Chloride Working Group was formed. The working group currently comprises representatives from the City of Airdrie, City of Calgary, Rocky View County, Calgary Airport Authority, Alberta Environment and Protected Areas, and Alberta Transportation and Economic Corridors. These participants are a mix of people with an environment focus and those with roadway operations focus. These organizations were initially invited since they were identified as being key contributors of road salts to the Bow River. Management actions are currently focused on addressing chlorides originating from road salt deicers. This working group is taking a multi-pronged approach to better understand and manage the issue, which includes improving knowledge and understanding, leveraging experiences and learnings of road salt operators, and exploring the feasibility of options for managing road salt. One example of our efforts to improve knowledge and understanding is a recent presentation and discussion by our South Saskatchewan region team to members of the Alberta Irrigation Districts Association regarding the Bow chloride management response. Next slide. Our key takeaways for the South Saskatchewan region are that investigations of cause have been initiated or continued based on current and past threshold exceedances and increasing trends. The investigation of cause into E. coli limit exceedances on Milk River is nearing reporting completion, with management actions to follow. The Bow multi-parameter investigation is nearing completion and into the reporting phase. A working group was formed to support long-term reduction of chloride in the Bow River and its tributaries. New investigations of cause and additional analysis for selenium and dicamba pesticide have been initiated. Managing the cumulative effects of our collective activities on water quality can't be done by our ministry alone. We need your help. Stakeholder collaboration and partnerships are key to success in protecting, maintaining, or improving water quality. Support from a wide variety of stakeholders is needed for communicating the status of environmental condition within your organizations and networks, participating in investigations of cause, which may include membership on investigation science teams, funding studies, or providing data, identifying and implementing appropriate management actions, reporting on the effectiveness of those management actions, and communicating the status of management responses within your organizations and networks. You or your organization may already be involved in a management response or may be asked to participate in a management response in the future, and your cooperation is greatly appreciated. Thank you for your time. We'd be happy to take your questions now, or please feel free to follow up by email. Thank you.